Pettin, Philbin, Power, Production, Punter, Pigskin. Yes, they all start with P, just like the 2018 campaign starting right now on your Packers Fan Podcast.
Hey Packers fans, this is your unofficial Packers Fan Podcast, and these are the podcasters you're looking for. One of these guys, even though he's a huge fan of the Packers, he doesn't like bratwursts and wonders if that's wrong. And the other guy bangs the drum all day and thinks, touchdown. And now it's time to Go Pack Go with your hosts, Wayne Henderson and Troy Heinritz.
I'm Wayne Henderson, excited to be joining you for another Packers Fan Podcast, the show by and for fans of the 13-time NFL champion Green Bay Packers. Can I get a Go Pack Go?
Go Pack Go.
This is episode 155 of your Packers Fan Podcast, recorded August 7th, 2018.
And I'm at Troy Heinritz on Twitter, excited to be with you once again, talking about our 2018 season preview as we talk about camp up to date. We'll dig into a few undrafted free agents as well.
And we're going to preview the Titans preseason matchup against your Green Bay Packers. And I'm sure you've heard by now, Jerry Kramer is finally in the NFL Hall of Fame.
What? That's my cheering.
Oh, that was awesome. We're in preseason form ourselves.
That's right, we are. Because everything you need to know about this episode can be found over at our website. It is PackersFanPodcast.com. And the show notes for this episode will be at PackersFanPodcast.com/155. That's a lot of episodes.
That is a lot of Packers talk, and we're going to keep it rolling because it's going to be a long, exciting season for the Packers. Did you see Jerry Kramer's speech at the Hall of Fame, Sir Troy?
I did catch a little bit of that, teared up a little bit. I mean, just it's such a great... It's an amazing feeling that he's finally in, because I don't know how Brian Urlacher gets in, but the fact that Jerry Kramer is finally there, I think just makes it all right with the world.
Exactly, because I think they said he's the 13th Lombardi Packer to be in the NFL Hall of Fame. I don't think any other team from any other era has that many people in the Hall of Fame. It's so long overdue, but I'm glad they finally rectified that and he's in there. Jerry Kramer, he was in the 1958 NFL Draft. He was the 39th pick overall in the fourth round, and that's what's interesting. There were so few teams that the 39th pick was in the fourth round.
Wow, that is a lot.
I bet draft was only one night as well. I bet they whizzed through all those guys in a hurry.
I think it was only 1 hour, potentially.
Yeah, they probably had a lot less time and a lot less trades. Jerry did play 11 seasons for one team, the Green Bay Packers, from 1958 to 68. And, of course, he won the first 2 Super Bowls with the Green Bay Packers, 5-time NFL champions altogether. So he was quite a player, made the most famous block in NFL history in the Ice Bowl to help Bart Starr get that touchdown and beat those evil Cowboys.
Yeah, that block alone should have put him in the Hall of Fame. I don't know what's taking so long. But he's there now, so it's all past news.
Exactly. And I thought his speech was very well done. Actually, almost all the speeches were pretty brilliant that night. Speeches, I would say Brian Dawkins stole the show.
And the thing that I thought was interesting, and of all the stats that we're talking about in this entire presentation, was that he was a member of the NFL's 50th anniversary team, but he was the only member of that team that wasn't in the Hall of Fame at the time. Like, that just tells you like how sad it was that he has not been in the Hall of Fame before this season.
Yeah, how the voters work is a mystery. Just ask Terrell Owens. Congratulations, Jerry Kramer. I thought, we're going to take the lead. We're going to get more Packers in the Hall of Fame. And then they put in a Bear, and, we're still trying to gain ground there. But between the Packers and Bears, that pretty much wraps up most of the NFL Hall of Fame.
Yeah, as long as you're on somewhere on I-94 or I-43 between the two cities, you just have football greatness around you. Who cares about football in Texas?
But we know Granny Cheese and the gang, they mostly root for the Green Bay Packers in Texas, and that's what really counts. You know something else that really counts, Troy?
Team doctors and the fact that the injury bug is already out there and the season hasn't even started yet.
Correct. Ding, ding, ding. Injuries. I'm not worried at this point, but it is a bit disconcerting. Can you break it down for us, Troy? Because, it's so hard to hear.
Well, I mean, everybody's coming in and out. I think we'll just focus on the big two. And obviously the first one is David Bakhtiari. I mean, him not being on the offensive line, I think bodes some interesting things about what we need to do to shore up the O-line for Mr. AR-12 himself, because I think that would be a big loss if that becomes something bigger. Luckily, it's just a small little ankle twing, if that's even a thing. I'm going to call it a thing now. It's an ankle twing because it's not a full-blown, torn ankle, broken ankle, anything like that. So he should be ready to go by season start. But losing Jake Ryan so early in the campaign and now officially being put onto IR is just devastating for this up-and-coming linebacking core. We're just super excited to have Martinez and Ryan on the inside, and then you can have your up-and-comers like Beagle, and you have Clay, and you have Nick Perry, and now that we have a hole in the middle, I start to ask that question again. You remember when Clay Matthews played on the inside and the run defense was awesome?
I do remember that. Those were good times.
I think that should be something we should look at, because I think those outside linebackers are actually been playing pretty good here in the preseason, right? Beagle, Gilbert especially has actually shown some pretty nice flashes coming out here throughout the course. And it's just been really interesting to find out what they're able to do against the ones in this case when they're playing against on family night specifically. But it'll be really great to see what happens against the Titans when they play later this week and see what these outside linebackers are truly capable of doing against real opponents. So I would like to see Clay Matthews move back on the inside, because I think that really boosted our run defense when he was playing there. But the big talk is, what do you do about Khalil Mack from the Raiders? The challenge here is that I don't think that he is somebody that's going to be given up very easily by the Raiders. But if you flash a number 1 pick in front of my face for a guy who you're not willing to sign at his demands and pay him for what he's really worth, because he's, 3 Pro Bowls now? We should really be taking a look at seeing what we could do to fill up this void that we have now that Jake Ryan's disappeared for the 2018 season.
Plus, I've got an idea. You've got Jordy Nelson now. How about if, we take one of the Raiders? See if that angle works at all.
So I would keep an eye on this. I think this is going to be a huge moving story over the first weekend here of preseason, even though technically there was a game last week, but since it had the Bears in it, it didn't really count.
And they lost.
And they lost. Oh, did they? I didn't remember that. Thank you for reminding me.
You know what would be interesting is if something were able to be worked out and have it happen right before preseason game number 3. Just when the Raiders come to Green Bay, they drop off Khalil and, change the uniform.
Keep on flying back.
Oh, we're full of ideas, Troy.
Yeah. So, I mean, you could see something like Nick Perry, the 2019 first-round pick, and the 2019 third-round pick for Khalil. Maybe that'd be one possible solution. You may see, just swapping out Perry for Mr. Matthews. Clay Matthews, a 29 first-round pick and a 2019 second-round pick, potentially, because, Clay's obviously up there in his years, so definitely need to give a little bit more meat for that. But then you could just do picks straight up, right? A 2019 first round, a 2019 fourth round, and then a potential 2020 first round also in the future would be another option. So all possibilities, and it'd be interesting to see what Goody does if he wants to make a splash again. You already got Jimmy Graham and a few others underneath the belt. Why not go big or go home, especially when you have a gap?
Nothing would surprise me. And a lot of teams are very interested in draft picks, even more so than they are for trades. So nothing would surprise me. My eyes are peeled on the news every day just to see what happens, because football's almost here. Granted, it's preseason, but it's all part of the process, and things are going to start happening. I just know it.
Now, the interesting thing about all of this is that I think the pick route is the way to go, because even if we were to trade, say, Clay Matthews or Nick Perry, Nick Perry's probably the one that's more interesting, because I think that might free up some cap space. Because if you look at Mr. Matthews and then one Randall Cobb, both of those guys at the end of the season, if I do remember correctly, are at the end of their deals. So freeing up Cobb and not re-signing him, and freeing up Matthews and not re-signing him would give us $23 million in cap space also. So to have that much money to be able to pay for Keel, that would be something that would be interesting, because obviously the cap space we currently have is being saved for the hashtag Rodgers deal.
It'll be interesting to see how much really ends up going Rodgers' way. I mean, we can't mortgage the entire future of the Green Bay Packers. But then again, that's why we have Goody, as well as still having some others in the back to help focus on this thing, because it's going to be a tricky deal, whatever it is they come up with, because we know he's going to get paid. It's just a matter of how much, and how much is going to be left over for all of the other great players we need to try to take care of. But, woo, Troy, playing with fire, even talking about possibly trading Clay Matthews and Randall Cobb.
Hey, we thought Cobb was going to be gone this year, and they chose Jordy instead. So this, Cobb being gone to make up some room for something like this, I don't think that would be too a far realm of possibility. And remember, they don't have to do Rodgers' deal this year. They can still wait another year because he's still technically under contract.
Right. We just don't want it to become a distraction, because it's amazing how many people are talking about it already, including us. But on the NFL news, it's almost like Rodgers contract talk, 2018.
There's a lot of other stuff happening in camp, though, that we should probably talk about.
Okay.
And one is Camaro. Now, Camaro has been turning heads. If you know, he is a former Bengals practice squad member for 2 years and one on New England. He was actually from the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater, got 2 national titles for them, and he has consistently been thought of as almost the 3rd best receiver in camp to date.
Really?
Now, granted, you're going to have Randall Cobb, you're going to have Adams, and then you're going to have Geronimo most likely as your top 3. But if you're looking for that number 4, number 5 spot, I would assume Camaro is going to be there, because he's been practicing with the ones and getting a lot of looks from Rodgers. A lot of looks in the end zone especially.
And then again, if Randall Cobb does end up being traded, that will move him up into that 3rd spot, and most likely.
Yeah, and if not this year, then next year. If Cobb plays this year and then ends up not re-signing with the Packers next year, then Camaro definitely has a spot, I think, after another season for sure.
Keeping my eyes peeled.
I mean, at this point, if he doesn't make the team, I would definitely put him on the practice squad.
Oh, for
He's
sure.
Definitely got the hands. Definitely got the hands. Another person that's got pretty decent hands so far is Mr. St. Brown, or as we're going to call him this year, hashtag EQ.
Okay.
Because nobody can pronounce his first name. It's so hard to pronounce some of these players' names, so we're just going to make up names for people for the rest of the season.
And I do slightly better at pronouncing them than spelling them, so.
Yeah, it's Equimarius, right? Is that how you pronounce it?
Very close to that.
Close, good enough.
But EQ, I like that, and it makes it easier on the hashtags.
It sure does. It sure does. Now, the thing that is great about Mr. St. Brown, or hashtag EQ, is his length. He's just this lanky guy. And because of that, when he's running down the sidelines at practice, I mean, the tiptoeing and the places that Rodgers can throw the football with that boundary is almost like another benefit to the receiver. I think that really opens up some really good things, because he's got those long arms to stretch out. I think this is another one that we need to keep an eye on.
Yeah, he does in some ways, body style kind of reminds me of Randy Moss. Just this tall, thin guy with long arms. Hopefully can catch anything coming his way.
Who isn't catching some stuff, though, is Marquez Valdez-Scantling, because he looked like he was promising the first week of practice, but then a couple times in the end zone especially, he's been dropping a few balls, and that is one way to get Rodgers pretty pissed off at you. In fact, I believe it was in practice today, August 7th. Rodgers basically was like, man, camp's been a burden so far, just exhausted, and he let the young rookies have it today in a pretty heated conversation.
Yes, he did. Even though he mostly doesn't work with them, but he's trying to make the rounds at camp and peeking in on the other parts of the offense that are practicing, and yeah, he was not happy. I have a feeling tomorrow they're going to be snappier.
I think that this is a season that Aaron is looking to definitely put his mark.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I'm Aaron and I think that there is a possibility of Super Bowl this year, I don't sign the contract and I go out and I win the Super Bowl and then I demand the payday.
If we win the next Super Bowl, the payday is just going to be astronomical if they wait till that time. But Aaron definitely has a focus this year, a chip on his shoulder. He really, I think, believes and knows that this is almost like an all or nothing season. And of course, we prefer all versus nothing. And if we can just keep him healthy, I think we are going to come out on fire and just, once the regular season starts, focusing on just domination.
Well, I think he's just trying to prove a point that lady friend is not a distraction. Oh, snap.
That's Troy Heinrichs at Packers Fan Podcast.
We love you, Danica.
Yes, we do.
Oh, man, what good stuff. Well, Cobb is back, which is really good because, man, the ankle scare on family night, woo, man, sweating a little bit there. Sweating.
Man, poor Cobb, he's had some scares, like in that playoff game a couple years ago that I went to where the Packers played the Cardinals, and I think he got a punctured lung, partially punctured because of the microphone that he was wearing. It was like, Cobb, take care of yourself. Watch out. But I'm glad he's healthy, no matter where he ends up on the depth chart. I think we got a lot of depth, but I hope his ankle, heals up fine. And same as Bakhtiari, that it's something relatively minor and we can look forward to them being on the field very soon.
And depending on your podcast player that you're listening to this on, that was depth, not death.
Let's clarify. Yes.
I get nervous. It's like every year it's like, oh, the injuries again.
Yeah. It's all part of the game.
Do you know what we can actually say that we have death to, though? We have death to punting controversy in Green Bay.
Whoa. Talk about a segue, Sir Troy.
Yes, one J.K. Scott is turning heads because the ball is going so high in the air. 4.82 seconds of hang time on average. Yes, that means that sometimes it goes even longer.
That's insane.
And 55-yard average punting the other day in practice, which means he had a long one of 63. 63 yards. Field position, baby. Field position. I love it.
I know. That's what it's all about. And plus, in a game, if you're like sitting in the stands and you see a ball go high enough that it practically reaches your eye level while it's hanging for at least 4.82 seconds, it's amazing. Gives the team a lot of time to get down there and get ready. And, the kickoffs are going to be even better because of the fact that, there's that new rule. So having a great kicker like J.K. Scott doing kickoffs, it's just going to be fun to watch. We need great punting, great kicking, and like you said, Troy, no controversy.
Well, and remember, eye level, as Wayne references it, is not my eye level at row 45 in the lower section. He's talking, south end zone 702 levels here. Come on, people.
Yeah, getting you the visual. Just trying to do my part.
It's the theater of the mind here on the Packers Fan Podcast. But I love that he's a great kicker, though, too, because what they've actually been doing is they've been using him to actually do kickoffs for the aging Mason Crosby, save some foot there, and that's actually been paying off. Crosby's been pretty accurate through all of camp so far.
As far as we know, J.K. Scott's not going to be kicking field goals, though.
No, but maybe he could in a pinch.
It sounds like he could do most anything, but while Mason is still money, let's ride that train all the way to the Super Bowl.
They did replace the sod in field at Green Bay this year, so I know that there's going to be some potential. Hopefully, there will not be. I should put it this way: there should not be any potential divot issues like the Detroit game.
It always seems like such a gamble to replace an entire field. I saw the photos of Lambeau Field before they put down the new grass, and it just looks so odd. They actually did the same thing at the LA Rams Coliseum this past summer. They're actually renovating it, trying to make it a little more palatable. They took out all the seats. They're putting in new seats, so you get to sit in a brand new seat this October, Sir Troy. And they also finally, I don't know why it took them this long, the football field is now actually centered in the stadium instead of being way down near the west end, and the people sitting in the east end have to look like an extra 30 yards to see what's going on.
I'm assuming that we were sitting in the east end previously, so that's actually a benefit for us.
Amen to that.
Oh, there we go. Yes, for those of you that don't know, I will be at the Rams-Packers game in L.A. with Sir Wayne. So if you are in the L.A. area and planning on going to that game, definitely let us know because we want to hear from you. Just send us a note to feedback@PackersFanPodcast.com and let us know if you're planning on attending the Rams game because then we'd like to plan a meetup. So we got to get that started sooner than later.
Absolutely. It's all part of the Green and Gold Takeover.
And then, of course, I'll be at my standard game number 2, Milwaukee Gold ticket package. And that's going to be the best game of the season because that's the Packers-Vikings rematch where Aaron gets to break every arm on the entire opposing team.
That would be quite a feat, but that game's going to be epic. We'll be looking for you on TV in that one as well. Another thing about the Packers that's kind of exciting coming out of camp, and you've got the details, is defense as far as safeties and maybe some interceptions.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they've been... I don't know if it was just an off day for Aaron, but there was one day where Aaron was just stinking up the joint, and it was getting picked off left and right by our good friends, Mr. Kevin King, Jari Alexander, Josh Jones, and a bunch of others. It's just been a really interesting one. But Devon House has been actually looking like a beast mode out there so far. So I'm excited. You got Tremont Williams for the leadership aspect of it, but some young up-and-comers, and things are actually looking up pretty well over there in the cornerback position. And then, of course, switching over into the safety spot, you've been seeing actually Quentin Rollins, of all people, playing the Morgan Burnett, creeping up in the box. Is he going to blitz? Is he not going to blitz? So I'm interested to see where that goes, having Quentin Rollins cover off in the slot spot. That should be pretty interesting to see.
This is going to be so good. And I think a lot of those practice interceptions from Aaron Rodgers had more to do with new defensive schemes that are being implemented versus anything really with Aaron Rodgers. I just think we might finally have a defense that the other team doesn't know exactly what we're going to do on every play.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That'll be very great.
Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers, and by week 2, it's all good again.
Oh, yeah, we're just fine.
Just fine. Where we're not fine, though, is in the running back position again. Yeah, and this isn't because there's anything wrong with Ty Montgomery or Williams, but we've already got Aaron Jones and Devontae Mays down with some hamstring issues, and those hammies can be problems down the road. And so they actually had to go pick up Akeem Judd because these guys have been hurting. So we'll have to see if Akeem gets some play time. He was just recently acquired off of waivers, so I think that this bodes a little bit of interesting telling about what could happen in the future for the running back position, because we were all wondering, what do you do with Ty Montgomery this year? Because Aaron Jones and everybody was so good last year. So it's good to see that Ty Montgomery is still listed as the number 1.
Oh, absolutely. And I think Aaron Jones, isn't he suspended through week 3? Once he comes back, he was really starting to pick up, I thought, at the end of last year. We're going to have a lot of running back action. I think it's going to be just fine.
I think it'll be great, especially when you think about who we picked up for tight ends.
Oh, yeah.
Man, Mercedes Lewis, if he's the blocker that they want him to be, we could have a power running game. Would that be a surprising feat?
I know. Jimmy Graham, Mercedes Lewis, maybe some 2 tight end sets. They can't cover them both. I mean, they can't double cover both of them. Somebody's going to be open. Absolutely.
But what I'm super excited about, super excited about, is Montravius Adams finally getting out on the field, because he has been dominating, just dominating, and he's showing why he was a 3rd-round pick last year. I mean, bummer that he didn't get to play in his rookie season, but man, he's been highly disruptive. Literally on over half his plays at family night, you could basically see him sneak through, maybe even get a few sacks. So if Montravius can keep up what he's been doing so far as we move into live action games here in the preseason, I think we're going to have a decent pass rush finally.
That would be nice. I've almost forgotten what a pass rush is.
I thought you were like, I don't even know how to respond to that, because what's a pass rush?
Something along those lines. I'm looking forward to seeing one.
Yeah, because then you take that with the combo of Beagle and Gilbert, as we mentioned, right? You have some real fun stuff there. They had a really nice family night, but remember, Bakhtiari went down with the injury, So I don't know if that's just because Bakhtiari went down and our offensive line isn't all that great in the second and third tier. So we'll have to see what actually happens against the Titans. But so far, the pass rush, if the pass rush is existent, then even if the cornerbacks are still not quite, top of the class, but maybe top 10, it definitely helps the cornerback position out quite a bit by having the pass rush. So I am looking forward to seeing what happens on the defense Thursday night.
Oh, definitely. And I'm looking forward to, like you said, live action games. Family night, I'm not exactly sure what's behind it, but it apparently wasn't shown anywhere outside of Wisconsin this year.
Yeah, usually you can pick up a stream from somebody, but nobody was out there. They shut that down quick.
Yeah, I tried every single station that's an affiliate of the Packers in all of Wisconsin, and nothing. Finally found, kind of accidentally stumbled across a stream. Somebody was filming part of their TV, but it was, the angle was off, and they had something set up wrong because everything was backwards. All the jersey numbers, everything was backwards. But hey, I was able to see part of Family Night, even if it was backwards.
Still amazing that they can sell out that place for a practice.
Mm-hmm. People are like, well, tickets were only $10. What do you expect? I'm like, there's a lot of teams in the NFL that would pay their fans $10 a ticket, and they still wouldn't fill up their stadium.
I mean, that's $80,000 times $10. You do the math. I'd like to have that change.
Yeah, it was a great night. It's just fantastic. And even Mercedes Lewis afterwards said that he's just blown away. 65,000 or more coming out for pretty much a practice. He's never seen anything like it. Just wait till weeks 1 and 2 against the Bears and the Vikings at Lambeau Field.
I know. Back-to-back home games against division opponents. The place is going to be rocking.
I know. It does not get better than that.
It does get better than that because who knew that quarterback controversy was going to be the thing that we were talking about in the 2018 camp, because we knew that when they brought in Mr. Kaiser to go against Hundley to battle for the backup spot given Hundley's performance last year, it would be us talking about one Tim Boyle. Yeah, that's right.
Wait.
I said Tim Boyle. Does anybody know who Tim Boyle is?
I've kind of missed out on something here, Troy.
Tim Boyle is an undrafted free agent, Eastern Kentucky native, and he has got a cannon, and he's a pocket passer, and he looked pretty sharp. So I'm really excited to see what Tim Boyle does over the course of the next 4 games in preseason, because he might just make Goody keep 3 quarterbacks this year.
And every year I shake my head when we don't. We have to find a way. Goody, if you're listening, please, we've got to keep at least 3 quarterbacks on the roster. It will make it interesting to see which one of the others might let go, even if we do keep 3.
I mean, if we keep 3, I mean, Hundley, here's what, Hundley and Kaiser are going to be the 1 and the 2. There's too much investment in Hundley, plus he's got, 1 year left on his deal. You just traded for Kaiser, so he's probably not going anywhere. But Tim Boyle, if he's better than Kaiser, because Kaiser's shown that he still isn't quite picked up the speed and the footwork necessary, so he might not be as viable as we thought. But we'll see throughout the course of the preseason if someone rises to the top, and maybe Tim Boyle gets to start a game. That's what I would like to see in preseason. I mean, we already know what Hundley can do. He's got game time, and he's had pretty decent preseason. So do we really need to see a lot of Hundley action? I'd like to see Kaiser start a game, and then I'd like to see Tim Boyle start a game, and then obviously have Rodgers play a half, and then maybe Hundley plays the last game just to kind of get back in the rhythm, and there you go. Because I playing Tim Boyle only in the fourth quarter when it's all scrubs out there, it gives you some looks at fundamentals and footwork and things of that nature, but put him out there with the ones and see what happens.
I agree 100%. Do it.
I mean, no one says that you have to be married to put Hundley out there to start the game. Just my 2 cents. You never know till you try.
And it's preseason. I mean,
overall,
obviously, everybody's mostly looking forward to Game 3 when we play the Raiders with Jordy Nelson, and we get to see the starters for maybe a half, probably a quarter at least. But all 3 matchups this preseason have a lot of things that we need to look at, because choices have to be made, and So everybody's got to show up for every one of these. And I'm interested in seeing the quarterbacks. I think Kaiser's going to get bumped up to the number 2.
I think he will by the end of the preseason as well. But keep an eye on Boyle. I'm telling you, if nothing else, practice squad quarterback right there.
We've needed those in the past.
Sure have. Now, camp overall so far does feature 9 first-round picks, 11 former Pro Bowlers, and get this, almost half the roster, not over half, almost half. I think it's like 42 of the 88 are actually original Packers draft picks.
Nice.
So, homegrown, baby, homegrown.
The Packers do things right, and I can't believe it's almost here. I don't know what to expect Thursday night when we play the Titans, especially since the Titans have modified uniforms and a totally different color scheme on their helmet this year. So it's just going to be interesting to see how it all comes together.
Is it Color Rush? It's Thursday night after all.
I think they save the the Color Rush until regular season Thursday night. I know that the Titans now have a bluish helmet with their logo on it instead of a white helmet with a bluish logo. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting.
It doesn't matter what the colors are because the only colors are going to be red, as in red zone, when Jimmy Graham is catching touchdowns down there because he's been on fire.
I can't wait to see that. No matter who's throwing the ball, I would think that Jimmy Graham's going to be able to get some touchdowns for us during the preseason.
What was it for Rodgers the year that he was healthy the year before? Was it like 33 red zone touchdowns? No interceptions?
That sounds about right. Aaron Rodgers is very good about not throwing interceptions.
In the red zone in particular.
That's the best place not to throw them.
Well, Graham actually almost got hurt in practice. You see that one today? Where they jumped up and fell down on top of him and twisted up an ankle. Maybe I don't know if it was today or if it was yesterday. I can't remember. But it looked kind of scary. Trainers were out there and everything, but he got up and everything looked to be okay. So, dodged a bullet.
Yeah, that's definitely not anything we need. Oh, man.
People watching camp highlights, like you watch a game and you're like, when Rodgers went down and everybody's like, like you don't expect to see that in a camp highlight. Everybody's like, Jimmy Graham, please stand up.
It's because we all have very unrealistically high expectations for this season, and we want every piece of the puzzle to be in top form.
Yes, we are not missing playoffs 2 years in a row. It's not acceptable.
No, it won't happen. We're there.
We missed the playoffs 2 years in a row. We're shutting the show down.
Let's not go crazy.
In protest. Protest.
Well, I know that we don't have to worry about that, so.
We sure don't.
And Vikings fans, they still crack me up. We were only one game away from the Super Bowl last year, and now we're even better. Yeah, but the only reason you were in the playoffs. How
many trophies do you have?
0. And the only reason they were in the playoffs is because they broke Aaron Rodgers, and he's coming for you, Vikings. He's coming for you. Now, before we get to a few of your listener thoughts, just a quick note that you can also now listen to the Packers Fan Podcast. In addition to Apple Podcast, there's also the availability in Android with the Google Podcasts and on all the platforms in Spotify. And, of course, let's throw another one in the mix. We recently got approved to have our Alexa skill. It is now live for Packers Fan Podcast. Be sure to enable it and enjoy Packers Fan Podcast talk while you're doing the dishes, vacuuming the floor, cleaning up after the dog, taking a shower, wherever you have that Amazon device. Listen to your Packers Fan Podcast.
Now, many of you listen to that first thing, Wednesday morning or Thursday morning when we put it out, depending on the game schedule. But, man, I tell you, there's nothing better than grilling out on Sunday morning, getting ready for a noon start, because there's going to be a lot of them this year because of our not-so-great record last year. It's real easy. You just say, hi, lady in the tube, play the Packers Fan Podcast latest episode. And boom, you're on, and you don't even have to take your eyes off the grill. It's amazing.
That's an application I hadn't thought of, because some of the games with the game time here, the early games, they're extra early because of the West Coast time zone. So I heard you talk about grilling. I'm going, interesting. But then again, time zone.
Hey, 10 a.m. on West Coast is Bloody Mary morning. That's what I say.
I can't do the Bloody Marys. I can do some French toast, maybe an omelet, but we do want to hear from all of you. The season is coming. Get yourselves amped up. We want to hear your G-Force feedback. You can call us at 920 920-3PACK-GO. Again, 920-3PACK-GO. Or simply go to packersfanpodcast.com/feedback to get all the details on all the different methods that you can use to contact us. But we do have a couple of emails to share with you from listeners that want to have some thoughts as we head into the preseason. First up, we're hearing from Steven, who says, Wayne and Troy. Steven checking in from Palos Park, Illinois, home of the rival Bears. It'll be great to have the Packers Fan Podcast back on a regular basis. Amen to that. Can I get a Go Pack Go?
Go Pack Go!
The 2017 season was the first season since 2008 that we did not make the playoffs. No worries. That's not going to happen again, Steven. And Steven says, like I've said over and over again in the Packers Fan Podcast community group on Facebook, the Green Bay Packers need to do a lot better this season than they did last year. And, of course, protecting AR-12 so we can keep him healthy, especially week 2 when Sir Troy gets to see the Minnesota Vikings lose to the Packers at Lambeau Field.
Yeah,
it's going to be awesome. Well, Troy and millions of other people will get to see it. About 80,000 live and the rest on TV. I know I'll be watching. Steven continues, it'll be interesting in preseason week number 3 when we play Jordy Nelson. Still hurts to say that. And the Oakland Raiders. And that will be on a Friday night, which will be great news if you don't have to work on Saturday, since the game's being played at 9:30 p.m. Central Time Friday night. So it'll end around 12:30 a.m. If you're looking to stay up late and watch the game live on TV. It's one of those times where it's going to be nice to be on the West Coast. But even that's late here if the kickoff is going to turn out to be 7:30 Pacific time.
I think it's actually slated for 9:30 Pacific, right? Oh, no, yeah, that's right. 7:30 Pacific, 9:30 Central for kickoff, but it won't be done until 12:30 in the morning. Yeah. Got it.
Whatever it takes.
Carry the 1 times 2, power to the 5.
You got to use the new Common Core and draw a Venn diagram, bring in the hexadecimal. I don't know.
Hey, I just know that 6 + 1 = winning.
Steven wraps up by saying, hopefully we will be talking about a long run in the playoffs that hopefully will include a ticket to the Super Bowl. I don't think I can say it any better that I'm excited for this season, and hopefully a lot of things are better in 2018. So says Steven, a very hopeful Veraheen, and please forgive me if I mispronounce your last name, but a lot of hope in that, and I've got just as much hope. I'm so excited, Troy.
I know that there's a downside to all of this, and that's exactly what Caleb Fisher, I think he's back in the frozen tundra area of Wisconsin, and he is just here to say that he's happy to see that the Packers are back on the practice field, sad about Jake Ryan going out for the season with an ACL injury, now on IR, but looking forward to seeing Aaron Rodgers back, and of course Jimmy Graham at the tight end position. So excited for the season, but no matter what, we'll always bleed green and gold till we're dead and cold. Go Pack, go! Caleb Fisher, Wisconsin native.
Love it. Thank you so much, Caleb, and thank you so much, Steven. Now, we need some voicemails to play on the next episode. Again, that's 920-3PACK-GO. 920-3PACK-GO.
Well, I think we are ready to talk about some other fantastic people that help make this podcast possible. That's right. We have our own Facebook community group, and that Facebook community group can be found at packerscommunity.com. Those guys are cheering on all year long. They're great discussions about camp going on in there. You can actually meet Caleb and Steven in that group and have some chats with them as well. But more importantly, we have to thank all of you that are the MVPs.
It's so good to have our own MVPs. Thank you so much for supporting the podcast through Patreon. At the Brett Favre $4 a month level of support, we've got the Texas-only Green Bay Packers Fanatics Facebook group, also Bryant, Jeff Summerfield, and a $4 a month pledge dedicated to lifelong Packer backer Randy Westgame. Go Pack, go. Thank you.
Go Pack, go indeed, because we also have the Curly Lambeau $1 level. That's right, $1 a month. Still gets you a shout out here on the Packers Fan Podcast to Velvet Eau Claire and our good friend, superfan Aaron Peterson from the Hollywood Outsider podcast, now an award-winning podcast since last season.
Congratulations, Aaron Peterson and the whole gang at the Hollywood Outsider. Ho, ho, ho.
Christmas in July, I guess, but it's August.
There's a hose.
You two can help make the podcast even better. This season, we really want your support. Go on over to PackersFanPodcast.com/support, or just go on over to Patreon. That's Patreon. That's Patreon. Patreon.com/PackersFanPodcast.
Did you say Patreon?
I believe that's what I said.
Okay. Just double
Not
checking.
Patron, Patreon.
You can be a patron at Patreon.
Yes.
It's a beautiful thing. So thanks again to Randy, Jeff, Velvet, Bryant, Aaron, and the Texas-only Green Bay Packers fanatics for their awesome Patreon support of the Packers Fan Podcast.
Well, in case you didn't know, 10 years ago today, as of this recording, August 7th, 2018, 10 years ago was, if you can believe it, yes, the last time the Packers were in the playoffs in the previous season, which finished up, obviously, the playoffs in 2008 itself. And that was with one quarterback, Mr. Brett Favre.
I'm still having a tough time pronouncing that.
Man, why can't they just spell it normal? Yes, Brett Favre, 10 years ago today, made his final exit from Lambeau Field forever.
Nothing's final. Anything could still happen.
Well, he's numbers retired now, so I think he's definitely done.
He could come back with any number he wants.
But man,
Just
what an
kidding.
interesting day that was 10 years ago when that whole thing went down as training camp was starting back in 2008. And Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel has a really interesting, good look-back perspective on that. If you want to see the full story, you can go over to the show notes, PackersFanPodcast.com/155. We'll have a link so that you can relive all of the horror of that fateful day back on August 7th, 2008.
Was that the time when they finally shipped Brett Favre out once and for all? And I believe it was Mark Murphy or Coach McCarthy that said, that bus has sailed, or whatever the phrase is.
All I know is I woke up that morning assuming that he was getting traded to like Tampa Bay or some other NFC team, and I got up and I got my Cheerios and or my box of Wheaties with Brett Favre on the box, and they were like, Brett Favre's been traded to the New York Jets. And we're like, where did that come from?
That was strange. I did get to see Brett Favre play with the Jets that year. He came to San Diego and played against the Chargers.
He was having a great season too.
Well, not that
until
game.
He had an arm issue, right? It was an arm issue after they was like 9-4 to start the season, then just fell apart at the end.
Yeah, and so everybody thought it was over. Then he goes to the Vikings, and suddenly he's a beast.
Until he gets to the fateful last game. Oh, was that the NFC Championship game? That one game right before the Super Bowl?
I believe
that
it was.
also prevented you from not getting a trophy, Vikings fans. Brett Favre threw the exact same pass that ended the game for us against the Giants in 2007-2008 playoff campaign.
What if we find out someday that it was all an inside job, that Brett Favre just pretended to be trying to help the Vikings and then just wanted to make sure he could stab him in the heart right at the end?
Oh my gosh, that would be funny. That would be so epic.
It's like that story they try to tell us about walking on the moon.
I don't think that's the case, though.
Oh, snap.
Well, family night isn't just for families to see Packers practice inside the stadium. It's also time for new families to capture wedding photos outside Lambeau Field amongst the barrage of fireworks. Love is definitely in the air as we are ready to start the 2018 season. You can take a look at that picture over at PackersFanPodcast.com/155 for the show notes.
Everybody loves romance, and you get near Lambeau Field and your heart starts to get a flutter, and you build in fireworks and Packers and family night. I don't think the romance could be contained any longer.
It's pretty epic.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well,
preseason football.
I love preseason football. My NFL Game Pass just renewed yesterday. $99 gets you all of the preseason action from all 32 teams. Yes, we are still at 32 teams. All that Los Angeles and Las Vegas talk is just people shifting spots. There aren't new teams coming there.
Exactly.
But it also gives you a really cool coaches cam throughout the season. You can watch condensed replays, 45 minutes. That's what I watch to prepare for the Packers Fan Podcast every week. So it really, really definitely worth the deal. Plus, you get all of the home radio calls, which we know that nobody does home audio radio calls better than the Packers radio network. Oh, yeah.
Now, the audio stream, you get that live, right?
That is live 100%. I mean, it's not live. It's like, 10-second, 30-second delay
okay.
from the actual action.
Hairs.
But yes, you do get to hear the game as it goes along. And the nice thing is that in Game Pass, you can actually turn off the scores. So if you are listening to a live audio broadcast of the game, you won't actually see the scores in the app because the scores do show up before the audio gets to you because of the delay.
Okay.
So they do allow you to turn the scores off, which is really a nice feature.
And then the video of the game during the regular season, you get it like the next morning, right?
Yeah, after the game is ended, I believe the 3 o'clock games are available at 6, and then the 6 o'clock games are available, or the noon games are available after the 3 o'clock games finish, and the 3 o'clock games are available after the 7 o'clock game finishes.
How about preseason?
7 o'clock. Preseason's live. You get to watch the live games right away.
Oh, because I get to see Thursday night's preseason game Friday night. Unless I get the Game Pass.
Unless you get the NFL Game Pass, and then you can watch it live on your... And they just updated it. So if you have an Apple TV 4 or an Apple TV 4K, they just updated the NFL app on those specific boxes so that streaming your NFL Game Pass is that much better. You don't have to AirPlay it from your phone anymore.
Slap in some AirPods, don't disturb the family, and just enjoy.
Enjoy the keys to the game. That's right. We are back for 2018. Now, I don't have many insights about the Titans because we're still kind of early on in the season, but definitely as you watch the game this week, I want you to keep an eye on the quarterbacks, as we mentioned. All the games are super critical for them. We know Hundley's preseasons are better than his regular season action, and Kaiser, high draft pick in his second year. Boyle looked pretty good during the family night scrimmage, very confident in the pocket. So definitely see who gets the playing time over the course of these couple of preseason games. Also keep an eye on the tight ends, because assuming that Jimmy and Lewis play a lot, I think Lewis will be more of the blocker. So I would expect if there's a running play, you'll see Lewis at the tight end position. And if there's a pass play, you'll see Jimmy at the tight end position. Just my 2 cents.
And let me say, after bumping into Mercedes Lewis at a family wedding a number of years ago, I am not going to try to block him. No. Just run free. Run free.
That's when Wayne realized he was at the wrong wedding because he was the bouncer at the door.
No, I was at the right wedding.
Keep an eye also on Mr. James Hearns at the linebacker position, who was just claimed off of waivers on Saturday. Not sure if he'll be ready to suit up for this game against the Titans, but with the depth at OLB becoming a concern with Jake Ryan. And then you have, of course, the injury-prone Nick Perry. You have the aging Matthews. I think that we should see some good looks from James Hearns, so see if he can actually fit the bill for maybe a second-tier OLB there. And then we have Jari and Josh, who will be seeing their NFL pace game action for the first time, and that should be interesting to watch as well because they've been in and out with some injuries, kind of taking it easy. Not saying that they're slacking off, but they're just being a little precautious on some things because we need our full cornerback crew ready to go. But it'd be cool to see what Jari and Josh can do out there, as well as Kevin King, because remember, last season he had his season cut short. So it'll be great to see what Kevin King can bring to the table.
My eyes will be peeled.
And then, of course, we have to find out how Cobb and Allison perform now that Jordy is out of the mix. So I'm sure that Cobb will be 2, Allison will be 3 on the depth chart, but things are progressing. We talked about some of the early contenders from the rookie class coming on up. So definitely keep an eye on the wide receivers. And it'll be interesting to see what kind of looks we go with now that Joe Philbin's back. Remember, Philbin was here during that 15-1 season after we won the Super Bowl, but yet failed to go back there after losing to Kansas City and then getting beat by the Giants in the divisional round. So it'll be great to see Joe back there, what he's able to come up from a scheme perspective. I would expect we would see more slot Cobb and more wide-out Geronimo, would be my guess.
I'm very excited that Philbin is back, and I know Aaron Rodgers is happy that he's back. So if they're all happy, I'm definitely happy, and I totally agree. I just am chomping at the bit. I want to see all 4 of these preseason games, even though, by the third quarter, it's like, oh well. It's green and gold. That's what counts.
That's right. It's all football all day long. I don't need to watch anything else. Forget about Game of Thrones and Westworld and all that other HBO stuff. Like, just give me Packers football 24/7. Is there a channel for that?
There should be.
We should start one up. NFL, if you're listening, make it happen. We could charge a lot.
And every hour, on the top of the hour, we see another Aaron Rodgers Hail Mary genius play.
That would be fun.
Now, coming up at the top of the hour, it's AR12's Hail Mary of the Week.
Oh, my gosh. We have the announcer included. All packaged up, ready to go for you. Now, the Titans themselves, they're starting their campaign under a new system and a new head coach in Mike Vrabel. So after going back-to-back 9-7 seasons, one where they just missed the playoffs and one where they made the playoffs, they're definitely not a team to be written off. But, of course, new system means new challenges. So we're definitely going to see what the Titans have in store because they have no more DeMarco Murray as the running back. So we get to see a little Derrick Henry action as a starter. So I wonder how the run game is going to be used in this contest because maybe they're going to want to pound the ball on the run just to get him kind of warmed up and ready to go for the regular season. Because remember, you might not script these plays like you would a normal game. You're trying to use this time to assess and analyze certain game type situations. So even though they may be more pass heavy in the regular season, they may lean on the run a little bit more in the preseason to see what Henry's able to do.
Right. And of course, both teams are going to be playing fairly vanilla offense and defense, keeping the good stuff under wraps till opening day.
So do we want to do score predictions here, or should we give a little dope sheet info first?
For fun, let's go ahead and go wacky and do our score predictions of this epic matchup coming our way. Start us off, Troy.
Oh, I get the honors.
Yeah,
I mean,
please.
I know you're picking a Packers win because if you don't pick 16-0, I might fall out of my chair.
Oh, if you count preseason, that's going to make it like 20-0.
That's right. Well, technically, that would make it 23-0.
Doesn't get any better than that.
I'm going to say Packers win this one. I think there's fire. They're excited. It's going to be energy. I think Packers 24, Titans 21.
That sounds pretty good. And we're at Lambeau Field, and like you said, everybody's got a chip on their shoulder. This is the season to make a statement, even in the preseason. I think by the third quarter, it's going to get pretty sloppy and choppy, but I do think we're going to win. I'm thinking something more along the lines of 21-14. Just a basic, kind of low-scoring game, but I like your score even better.
All right.
Believe it or not, the Packers do put out an official dope sheet, even for the preseason games, and we'll link to their beautiful PDF at PackersFanPodcast.com/155. Just a few tidbits, because preseason. The Packers and Titans have faced off in the preseason 9 times in the previous 16 years, including each preseason from 2002 through 2009. And I just thought that was odd that we played, an AFC team like the Titans that many times in that short time span.
Which means that we shouldn't have lost to him 42 to whatever it was in that one game 2 years ago. It was like, come on, really? Titans?
Yeah, there's that. The broadcast team for the preseason is going to be CBS's Kevin Harlan doing play-by-play. Also, James Lofton's going to be the analyst, and Lance Allen of WTMJ is the sideline reporter. Allen will also host an informative half-hour pregame show. And then in the coaches' capsules, there's a huge difference here. Mike McCarthy is 131, 71, and 1. That's a pretty darn good record, and he'll even tell you about it. And Coach McCarthy, for a Packers team going into its 100th season, is only the Packers' 14th head coach, whereas Mike Vrabel, brand new coach, he's 0-0. His first season, he is the Titans' 19th head coach. And even if this does include the Houston Oilers history, that's still a lot of head coaches for one franchise with a much shorter history than the Packers' 100 seasons.
Yeah, spooky, too, that it's the 19th head coach.
Yes, Stephen King fans everywhere get a little jittery. And the Packers will stay at home for their second preseason game, welcoming the Pittsburgh Steelers to Lambeau Field for the Midwest Shrine Game at 7 p.m. Central, next Thursday, August 16th.
Which I technically have tickets to, but will not be at.
There's that. It's coming together.
Preseason.
We start the regular season with 2 home games. We start the preseason with 2 home games. And one notable connection is Packers' senior advisor to football operations, Ted Thompson, played linebacker, believe it or not, for the Houston Oilers from 1975 to 1984, appearing in 146 of 147 games. So Ted Thompson was a beast back in the day.
Yeah, not so much a beast anymore. You saw that he's also on the injury report. So I'm donating a cast on the sideline.
Oh, that's brutal. That's brutal. So again, get ready and read the full official Green Bay Packers dope sheet for this game at PackersFanPodcast.com/155.
Partly cloudy, 73 degrees at kickoff. It's going to be a beautiful night at Lambeau Field as we say, welcome back, Packers football 2018 season, because the unofficial Packers Fan Podcast is not affiliated with the NFL, the Green Bay Packers. However, we would sure love that to happen. We're entering our 8th season, Wayne?
Entering our 8th season.
There you go. We only got 92 more to go before our 100th.
It'll fly by before you know it, Troy. Media at PackersFanPodcast.com. And remember, all season long, follow us on all of our Twitter accounts. We have one for the show at PackersFanPod. You can follow my personal account at Wayne Henderson.
Me, I'm at Troy Heinrichs. And be sure again to join the Packers Fan Podcast community. We started that up last season. We definitely want to grow that this year. Go on over to PackersFanPodcast.com/community or PackersCommunity.com. We'll get you there as well. Definitely join up there. Talk with everybody. Let's get some live chats going during the games. It's going to be really awesome out there this year. Again, PackersCommunity.com is where you can go for all that fun.
And since we are the show by fans for fans, remember we need your feedback as a fan. Go to PackersFanPodcast.com/feedback to get your thoughts in, let your voice be heard, and be part of the next episode of the PackersFanPodcast.com. And just keep all the conversations going online, Twitter, Facebook, anywhere you can think of. Thanks for joining us for another season of the Packers Fan Podcast.
Yeah, don't forget to call in your feedback as well anytime you want, before or after, during the game, 920-3-PACK-GO. And you can subscribe in Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. Talk to the lady in the tube. Say, hello, lady in the tube. Play me some Packers Fan Podcast because we're excited. Preseason's here. Let's cheer along now. Everybody knows the drill. 8 seasons in the making. Take it on out. Go, Pack, go!